Hello, welcome to Virtual and Phone Interview Tips and Trends presented by CareerLink Lehigh Valley. We hope you find this presentation helpful. Let's go over our agenda for today. First, we're going to do an overview of phone and virtual interviews. Then we're going to talk to you about how to prepare for one. Next, we'll discuss what to expect and the next steps in the interview process. So let's get started. Here's some pictures of a virtual interview. Notice the background of the person being interviewed. It's free of clutter, nothing distracting. Then notice what's on the desk. Maybe a notepad, pencil, paper. Just keep in mind. Here's another example of a virtual interview. Again, clean background, nothing distracting, maybe some notes in front of you. A virtual or phone interview could also be a group interview, so there might be more than one person interviewing you. So why do companies have phone or virtual interviews instead of in-person interviews? First, it allows the HR manager to decide whether to invite you into their facility for an in-person interview. So it's like a screen. If anyone's had a phone screening, that's usually why they do a phone screen. It saves the employer time and resources to do a virtual or phone interview. They don't have to book a conference room. They might not need all the resources they usually use for an in-person interview. It also saves the interviewer time and money. So you as an interviewer don't have to travel to the facility. You don't need to pay for parking. Those are some of the reasons why companies do a phone or virtual interview. So let's talk about planning for your interview. First step for planning for an interview is always to research the company website. What's their mission statement? Maybe look up the About Us section on their website. So part of that research could be going on Glassdoor or Salary.com, looking up the reviews, the salary ranges for those jobs. It's really important to do this research before going into that interview. It's also important to prepare materials for an interview, including, getting your resume, references together, any other materials that you would usually bring to a regular interview. Have that prepared for a virtual or phone interview. So I did just mention Salary and Glassdoor.com. What are those two websites? So Salary.com is great to get information on a salary range for a specific job. This is an example of a truck driver profile on Salary.com in Allentown. You can add in information like your education, years of experience, who you report to, performance, and then get a range of your salary. Next is Glassdoor.com. This is a great website to get reviews of a company. You could even see interview questions, benefits, things like that. I always tell people that when they do read reviews for a company, be a little wary, because sometimes people only write reviews if their experience has been negative. So don't just disqualify a company based on a few reviews that are negative. Definitely do your own research and give it a shot. You never know. So what should you have with you while you're on a virtual interview? You want to create a set. So sit in front of a blank background. You are the main focal point. If you don't have access to empty walls, set up an area that looks the most businesslike. Make sure the space is clean. So the messier the background, the harder it is for the employer to focus on you. It also gives them the message that you might not be detail-oriented or organized. Lastly, check for lighting. Sitting near a window works best. The trick is to keep the light in front of you. When it's behind you, it's really hard to see your face. So pro tip is check with your phone camera to see how you look in the space. Your phone captures the same image that your computer will. What should you have during the virtual interview? These are some things you should have. Definitely a copy of your resume, a reference sheet, pen and notepad to write down any questions or notes. Any questions you want to ask, I always suggest have them written down, because at the end of the interview, when they say, "Do you have any questions for us?" usually your brain is fried. So having questions written down will help you with that process. Have that job description ready to go. You should have studied that job description. Possibly bring in examples of past work experience, certificates, and always get the name and title and contact information of the person who's interviewing you. Things not to have: family, children, or any person in the room. This includes pets, loud noises in the background, food or drink, except maybe, a bottle of water is fine. Excessive jewelry, piercings, tattoos that are visible to the interviewer and the employee being interviewed, flashy clothing, gum, and a distracting background, which we already talked about. So what should you have while on a phone interview? Again, these are some things that you should have, similar to the video or virtual interview. And it's recommended that you don't, sit in your bed while doing a phone interview. It's best to sit in a chair or at a desk, not to slouch during the phone interview. Some people also say it's important to smile during the phone interview because your voice sounds different when you smile. Again, not have any other people in the back of the room, loud noises, gum, things like that. Pets is a big one. So what should I wear to a video or virtual job interview? I always say dress for the virtual interview the same way that you would for in-person interview, and that is from head to toe. For men, here are some of the different outfits that you could wear. Make sure the colors aren't too bright. Matching tie, hairstyles groomed. For women, same thing, no loud colors, and subtle makeup and jewelry. Why should you be dressed from head to toe for a virtual interview? Because dressing up from head to toe as if you were going in for an actual interview will better prepare you and make you more confident to interview for that position. So keep that in mind. And again, what you wear depends on your industry. I always say dress to impress. These are some industries that have different dress standards: warehousing, landscaping, maintenance, service jobs. Here's some things to keep in mind. Maybe dress slacks instead of a suit. Minimal jewelry. Clean hair, fingernails, hide any tattoos with clothing. Body language during a virtual interview is very important. Look at this man, smiling, looking at the screen. So here's some of the most important body language tips. Look at the screen and not at the camera to maintain eye contact. Look at the person that's talking to you. When listening, nod and smile. Show that you're engaged. If you do use hand gestures, be sure to practice them in advance, because sometimes they could look odd when your hands are cut off in the screen. So let's talk about answering some tough interview questions. First question is always, tell me a little about yourself. That's that elevator pitch. So quick synopsis of your background, and make sure to keep it professional. Avoid giving them information about your family, health issues, what you did last summer. Keep it professional. Other than money, why are you interested in a career change? What are your greatest professional strengths? Always say, please explain at least 3. What are your greatest professional weaknesses? Everyone has a weakness. Find out what that is. Be able to explain that. Also explain how you're working towards improving on that weakness. Why are you interested in working for our company? This is the company's way of seeing if you've actually researched their company and what they do, their mission. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does a hiring manager want to hear when you are asked that question? They want to hear that you see yourself growing with the company, possibly becoming a manager. They do not want to hear that you see yourself owning your own business at another company in a different state. So keep that in mind and be aware of what the hiring manager wants you to say for that question. It's another question. Why did you leave your most recent position? Be a matter of fact, not apologetic. If it is because of COVID, you could even say it was a global health crisis. And that is an okay answer to say because everyone has been affected by this and can relate to it. Keep it on the point and do not politicize the issue. Never want to bring up politics in conversation, especially during an interview. Call your human resources office. Ask what they would say in a reference check regarding why you left your most recent position. Be honest and discuss how you've learned from the experience. Don't speak negatively about your previous employer. You are asked a question, why is there a gap in your work history? Be sure to explain the gaps accurately and without giving too much information. Talk about your work that you have done to develop during these times. You can even volunteer to bridge gaps during your work history. Sometimes you could do this by going to idealist.org. Check in with your local community centers. It's a great way to bridge a gap. If you say something like family needs, medical issue or injury, looking for work, those are all great things to say. If it was family needs or medical issue, injury, please do not go into detail about, what specific needs your family had or what specific injury or medical issue you had. You could just say, I had to take care of my family. However, that has now been resolved. As long as you add this, that has now been resolved at the end, that's all you need. It shows that was an issue. It's been resolved. You're ready to move forward and work. Let's talk about the STAR method and questions like, tell me about a time when you had to work together with a team to accomplish a goal. Or tell me about a time you had a conflict in the workplace. Discuss how you resolve that issue. So all of these tell me about a time when questions are STAR interview questions. They want you to tell a story. Note, they want you to tell a short story. Start off with a situation, then get into the task, what you had to do. Action, describe what you did to complete that task, and then the result. So describe the result and make sure that result is positive. They want to know that you could resolve a situation or talk about a situation and that it ended in a positive way. Last question that's always asked in the interview. Do you have any questions for us? And you always should have questions. Here are some questions that you could say. I always recommend having 3 to 5 questions prepared on a notebook pad next to you during the interview, which you could ask at the end of the interview. Always get the next steps of the interview process. If they say, oh, we're not too sure, give them a time frame. If I don't hear back from you in 2 weeks, can I follow up with you? Ask them what they like most about working for the company. Get their take on their experience at the company. I always say to keep it positive, so try to stay away from asking, what are some things you would change about the company, or what do you least like about working for the company? Next, how's performance measured? What's a normal day like for someone in this position? Always get their business card or their contact information from everyone that is interviewing you. You need this information to send, you know. So after the interview, treat the virtual interview as you would an in-person interview. So you want to send that thank you note. When do you send it? Within 24 hours. Thank them for taking the time to interview you. Reiterate your interest in the position. Restate your skills. Don't wait to send the note. I always say, once you're done with the interview, send it right away. That concludes our presentation on virtual and phone interview tips and trends. I hope you learned a lot from this presentation, and come visit us at CareerLink Lehigh Valley or go to our website. Have a great day.